All right, welcome back, y'all. This is going to be the final lecture for Unit 1. And this one's going to be pretty short because this chapter does a lot of modeling and stuff, and I'm not going to get into the nitty gritty of all that. I'm going to kind of keep a higher focus on the global issues and politics and stuff. Okay, so this is about energy demand, and I just wanted to say a few things about what can actually drive demand for energy sort of on the global level, right? So the first is transportation, right? So we know that cars, obviously, but also shipping, which is a huge contributor, um, airlines, right? Not only passenger, but also cargo. And then some rail systems, but most have moved away from sort of fossil fuels or coal or whatever. Um, and some of this can be like a boom or bust in the economy, right? Like, are we in a bull market or a bear market, sort of globally? Are we seeing growth on the global scale, or are we seeing recession, right? Because those overall spending habits by global consumers generally can either make the transportation aspect of energy usage increase or decrease, right? And so, like when we saw COVID, 2020-ish, all the ports were closing down, shipping ground to a halt, manufacturing facilities were shutting down, right? And so, of course, energy usage went down dramatically, right? So the demand for energy went down. Okay, global economics can also affect demand for energy, as we were just sort of talking about. Um, and it doesn't only affect things like transportation, right? Because what are people buying, but also what products are being bought, right? So plastics are a huge contributor to a huge portion of what petroleum is pulled out of the ground for. Um, and so during really sort of high consumer spending periods, you're also getting an increase in demand for petroleum products through the need for plastics, right? Weather can affect the demand for energy, especially petroleum and gasoline, really, because when the global north is in a winter period, we know that just data shows that demand drops, right? People are driving less. You get less usage of things like electricity for your air conditioning. Um, uh, People are traveling less for businesses, these sorts of things, right? And so even just sort of global seasonal patterns can affect these things. And generally, gas prices drop during the sort of global north's winter, right? As demand gets reined in. Let's see, we talked about vehicle size, right? That can affect efficiency, but we talked about that, I think, in the last chapter. Even time of day, when we're talking about sort of regional demand, right? Because at some point there's sunlight around the world, but if we're talking about, say, the United States and its overall demand for electricity, obviously nighttime is going to be far less than daytime, right? Especially in summer periods when air conditioning is needed, and so that can affect demand. And in fact, most utility companies will incentivize you to get off the grid during the day by reducing their prices for nighttime electricity. So if you're running your like washing machine and dryer, or your dishwasher or whatever it might be, they'd much rather you use it during the nighttime, and it costs you less during the nighttime. Okay, some other sort of what affects the demand side, right? Obviously, is population growth and development. As countries pass into that middling section of development, we see extreme jumps in energy usage, right? First of all, because there's more sort of expendable income in the economy, and people want those basic comforts that electricity can bring. Um, but also, the grid tends to be really ineffective in that middling stage of development. And so you get a lot of wasted electricity, you get a lot of sort of wasted gasoline through leaky pipes and stuff like that. So um, that middling period can become very contentious, and you can see that in places like South Africa or even sort of the northern African Mediterranean area, um, and even in some South American countries that have problems with their electricity infrastructure, especially as you get out towards the rural regions, right? Okay, like I said, I'm going to leave all the modeling and stuff to you. That's the final piece of Unit One. We'll jump into Unit Two soon, and the first set of potential questions for Paper One should be up. So please reach out if you need anything at all, or if you have questions, or maybe you have a question you'd rather dive into, and let me know, and we'll talk about it. All right. Thanks so much for being here and have a great day.